Psychologists have long observed that people remember incomplete events more vividly than completed ones, a phenomenon known as the Zeigarnik effect. When a task or mystery remains unfinished, the human mind keeps circling back, unwilling to let it rest. In crime, this tendency is amplified. A murder without a suspect, a disappearance without a body, or a case without closure lingers, not just in official files, but in public consciousness. The lack of resolution gnaws at both investigators and ordinary citizens. It's why certain stories, decades after the fact, still draw us in, inviting endless speculation and theories. In January 1947, Los Angeles was basking in the post-war boom, its movie industry thriving. On the morning of January 15th, a young mother was pushing her baby stroller along Norton Avenue when she noticed what looked like a discarded mannequin in an empty lot. Its pale color, stiff pose, and placement caught her attention. As she drew closer, horror replaced curiosity. It was the body of a young woman, severed cleanly at the waist, bloodless, and posed in a grotesque manner. The victim was identified as 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, a Massachusetts native, who had drifted west in search of a new life. Short's path to Los Angeles had been uncertain. She stayed with acquaintances when she could, rented cheap hotel rooms when she couldn't, and dreamed of finding work in films. Friends described her as polite and reserved. In the days before her murder, she had been spotted downtown, perhaps meeting someone. Then she vanished until her body's grim discovery. The Los Angeles Police Department mounted one of its largest investigations, but this was an era before DNA testing and centralized criminal databases. The crime scene quickly became crowded with reporters, photographers, and the merely curious, making preservation of evidence nearly impossible. The brutality of the murder and the unusual staging drew instant press attention. Newspapers coined the nickname Black Dahlia, blending a recent film title with her preference for dark clothing. The media's hunger for lurid detail distorted the case almost immediately. Sensational headlines painted Short as everything from a naive, aspiring actress to a mysterious woman leading a dangerous double life. The public devoured the coverage, and the LAPD was inundated with tips, most of them useless. Dozens of people confessed, almost all falsely. Suspects included shady acquaintances, strangers with tenuous connections, and even a prominent physician, George Hodel. Yet no one could be tied to the crime with certainty. 2 decades later, in Northern California, a very different kind of mystery began. In December 1968, 2 teenagers parked on a lover's lane near Vallejo were shot and killed. 7 months later, another couple was attacked at Blue Rock Springs. One survived and gave police a description of the shooter. Weeks later, letters began arriving at local newspapers. The writer called himself the Zodiac, signed his messages with a crosshair-like symbol, and enclosed cryptograms he claimed would reveal his identity. Over the next several years, attacks continued sporadically. A couple stabbed at Lake Berryessa by a man wearing a hood marked with the crosshair. A San Francisco taxi driver shot and killed in October 1969. A piece of the victim's shirt sent to the newspaper days later. One cipher, solved by a schoolteacher and his wife, revealed a chilling message about killing for pleasure. Others resisted decoding for decades. His choice of attack sites crossed multiple counties, and in an era without integrated law enforcement databases, evidence often stayed siloed in separate jurisdictions. Public involvement became part of the story. Newspapers printed the Zodiac's cryptograms, allowing ordinary readers to join the hunt. Amateur sleuths pored over clues, and decades later, online communities would still trade theories. Suspects came and went, men whose handwriting seemed similar, who owned weapons matching ballistic evidence, or who had suspicious timelines, but no suspect was ever proven beyond reasonable doubt. In July 1975, Jimmy Hoffa, once the powerful president of the Teamsters Union, had finished a prison sentence for bribery and fraud and was maneuvering to regain control of the union. On July 30th, he told his family he was meeting 2 mock-connected figures at the Machu's Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. Witnesses saw him arrive in the parking lot at about 2:30 p.m. and wait, pacing. Sometime after that, he disappeared. His car was later found in the lot. The FBI treated the disappearance as a likely mob hit almost immediately, theorizing that Hoffa had been lured into a meeting under the guise of negotiation, killed quickly, and his body disposed of with professional efficiency. Other theories suggested the meeting itself was a diversion, and that Hoffa was taken elsewhere entirely. Over the decades, supposed burial sites have been claimed, fields, landfills, beneath stadiums, but every search ended in failure. Without a body, forensic science had little to work with. Placed side by side, these three cases share certain patterns. In each, media coverage shaped the story, sometimes keeping it alive, sometimes distorting it beyond recognition. In the Black Dahlia case, headlines overshadowed the woman herself. The Zodiac deliberately fed the press to extend his reach. Hoffa's disappearance stayed in the public mind through periodic breakthroughs and high-profile digs. All three investigations were limited by the tools of their time. No DNA in 1947, no centralized databases in the late 60s, and almost no physical evidence in Hoffa's case. Over time, myth has intertwined with fact. Suspects become archetypes: the sinister doctor, the cryptic genius, the ruthless mob enforcer. Myths keep attention alive, but can lead investigators into blind alleys. These stories endure because they combine fear, fascination, and the hope that the missing answers might still be found. They are locked rooms whose keys may be lost to time, yet the search continues. Not just to name a culprit, but to reclaim a past that refuses to settle quietly.